Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here because today we're tackling something incredibly practical. Welcome to this explainer on the essential vocabulary of shops and shopping. Specifically, we're diving into Unit 19. And, we're not just going to stare at a dry vocabulary list today. Instead, we're going on a virtual shopping trip right down a bustling high street. By the end of this, you'll have the exact words and phrases you need to navigate any store, talk to any assistant, and buy exactly what you want with total confidence. Let's get into it.
So, here is our route for today. First, types of shops. Second, the department store layout. Third, essential shop signs. Fourth, customer and assistant phrases. And finally, paying for your goods. Let's hit the road. Section 1, types of shops and where to buy things. Let's step out onto the street for our first scenario. Let me ask you right off the bat, where do you buy your daily newspaper? Well, if you said the supermarket, you totally could. But on a traditional British high street, you'd actually head straight to the newsagents. The newsagents is your absolute go-to spot for newspapers, magazines, and even stamps. But what about the rest of your shopping list? Let's figure that out. Think about these everyday items. If you need some sausages, you definitely don't go to the baker's, right? You go to the butcher's. That loaf of bread, that's what the baker's is actually for. And let's say you have a headache and you really need some aspirin. Well, you'll need to locate the chemist's. Matching the physical item in your mind to the specific store is honestly the fastest way to lock this vocabulary in. So it's absolutely crucial to memorize this specialized list. We've got our newsagents, butchers, bakers, and chemists. Plus, if you need to pick up a doll or a board game for a kid, you're going to look for the toy shop. Need a present or maybe some greeting cards for a friend's birthday? The gift shop is your destination. Knowing exactly where to go just saves you so much time and frustration when you're out and about. Section 2, the department store layout. Navigating the floors. Now let's shift away from the high street. Imagine we're walking through the glass doors of a massive, multi-level department store. When a store sells literally everything, it's all grouped by floor. Notice the logical flow here. Down in the basement, you'll usually find everyday supermarket goods. You walk in on the ground floor and immediately see cosmetics, like lipstick, right alongside the gifts. Need a quick break? Head up to the first floor for a cup of tea at the cafe. The second floor hosts clothing, like skirts and ties. Up on the third floor, you'll find baby clothes and toys. And finally, the really large, heavy stuff, like TVs, armchairs, and beds, those are tucked away at the very top on the fourth floor. Now pay close attention to this because it's a super common pitfall. In a British building, the floor at street level is called the ground floor. The floor directly above it is the first floor. This is really different from a lot of other countries where street level is just considered the first floor. If you mix this up, you might find yourself wandering around looking for lipstick up in the cafe. Moving right along to Section 3, Essential Shop Signs. Visual Instructions. Okay, we know our shops and our floors. But before we even browse the shelves or talk to anyone, the shop is actually giving us visual instructions. These signs tell us if we can go inside, how to operate the door, and exactly where to pay. Let's break these down so you're never left standing confused on the sidewalk. First up, getting through the front door. If you see push, it means you apply pressure and the door will open away from you. If you see pull, you need to grab that handle and bring the door towards you. I know it sounds incredibly simple, but energetically pushing a pull door is a universal and kind of embarrassing experience for all of us. Master these two words and you'll always walk in like a pro. Now, these two are the absolute most fundamental signs. Open means the shop is doing business and you're welcome to come on in. Closed means the doors are locked and you just can't go in today. Always, always check the sign on the door before you try to push or pull. Once you've successfully navigated the doors, grabbed your items, and you're ready to pay, you need to look for this sign, the cash desk. This is the specific place where you hand over your money. Sometimes you might hear it called the till or the checkout, but cash desk is a highly standard sign you definitely need to recognize. Section 4, Customer and Assistant Phrases. Talking to assistants. All right, we have our items in hand. Let's bring this to life. Picture this. You're browsing the clothing racks. The shop assistant walks up and initiates the conversation with that classic opening. Can I help you? As the customer, if you found a shirt you like but you want to see how it fits, your perfect response is, "Can I try this shirt on?" That politely gets the ball rolling for the fitting room. But let's say you try it on and there's a problem. Maybe it's a bit too tight or you just don't love the color. You step out and ask, Have you got a bigger size, or maybe have you got a different color? Now brace yourself, because you might get a polite rejection. The assistant might check the back and say, "No, I'm sorry, that's the only one." It's really important to recognize this phrase so you know that specific item is totally out of stock in any other variation. Let's imagine the shirt is perfect, though. You wrap up the interaction with this definitive phrase. "Okay, I'll take it. How much does it cost?" Saying "I'll take it" is the universal signal that you've made up your mind and you are buying it. The assistant will then reply with the price, like £22. And that brings us to Section 5, paying for your goods, settling the bill. We're at the cash desk to settle up. Let's talk about the specific money vocabulary you need right here. Here's a word that really confuses people sometimes: change. Imagine your total is £22, but you hand the assistant a £50 note. They're going to hand you back £28. That returned money, the coins and the smaller bills, is your change. If an assistant ever says, "Sorry, I don't have any change," it literally means they can't break your large bill. And speaking of bills, in British English, a piece of paper money is called a note. So that piece of paper worth £20, that's a £20 note. It's vital to contrast a paper note with metal coins, so you can confidently describe exactly what kind of money you've got in your wallet. The transaction is almost done. The very last thing the assistant will hand you is the receipt. That's the small printed piece of paper proving you actually paid. Definitely hold on to this in case you need to return something. And right as they hand it to you, they'll usually ask one final thing. Would you like a carrier bag so you can easily carry your new stuff home? Before we walk out of the store, let's quickly summarize your payment options. You can use cash, which, as we now know, is notes and coins. You can use plastic, either a credit card or a debit card. And while it's super rare these days, a shop might still accept a check. If you try to pay with something they don't take, the assistant will gently remind you, "No, credit card, debit card, or cash, please." And just like that, we've walked the high street, navigated the department store, read the signs, spoken to the assistant, and paid for our goods. You are now fully equipped with the essential vocabulary for Unit 19. So I'm going to leave you with this. What is the very first thing you're going to buy on your next real-world shopping trip? Get that item in your head, step out onto the high street, and put your new vocabulary to work. Thanks so much for hanging out with the Explainer today, and we'll see you next time.